Hi out there in the YouTube world, it is me, the Puzzle Master, and we're going to be going through the Nakshatras today. We did 20 last time, so we're on 21. It's Uttara Ashada, because the previous one was Purva Ashada. And yeah, so with this we want to remember that we were going from Sagittarius, like the previous sign, was completely in Sagittarius. And this sign is now moving from Sagittarius, which is like fire, initiation energy, ruled by Jupiter, and it's mutable. And we're combining that with Capricorn energy, because it's on the cusp. So it's Earth, which is like very practical, very physical, very goal-oriented, very of this world, tangible, ruled by Saturn, which is like the god of higher learning, knowledge, trials, tribulations, struggle, the god of time, and cardinal. So that's the ability of also being able to initiate and take action and to, have that strong desire to move. Can't stay in one spot so much. So when we combine all of these qualities, well, what do you get? Uttara Ashada. And its class is warrior, okay? So this is because of its very, very strong desire to achieve, like, the mountain peak. Like, they have strong desire to make it, to be somewhere of strong authoritative figure in this lifetime. Links to rulership, and remember that a good king is akin to a sage, but is still not a sage. And that's because, like, all great kings, like, and in this Nakshatra book I'm reading about all this, it says that, like, all kings, have, like, there is no, like, king class, but there is warrior class. And all kings they have to have that warrior streak in them, because you have to be able to, like, initiate, take action, be in control. And kings do that, so. But you have to remember that even the greatest king isn't a sage, because it's different lenses that we see the world through, and they want different things. So, and you can't change which your innate wanting in this world. It's like, maybe things go through cycles, and like people might appear to change, but inertly inside it's pretty much the same. Yeah, and its nature is human, so it's not angel or demon. Like, it's fairly neutral in that regard. It's like in this world of Maya, kind of like Monopoly game. It's human, so it's a little more neutral and can be swayed kind of either way depending on family environment or upbringing and circumstances and stuff like that, because the human is fairly neutral. Its ruler is the sun, so if you have this placement with your sun sign, then you'll come off very, like, exuberant, because it is the sun. It is, the light. Like, the sun also represents, like, your ego, or, like, how you project yourself to the world. So, and the sun wants to project itself. So if you have your sun placement there, that's quite comfortable and good. Moon placement, because moon is the exact opposite of the sun, you might find it might not be the easiest moon placement. But usually the nakshatras are actually talking about specifically the moon sign for all of these traits and kind of how your inner mind thinks. However, if you have this for your sun, it will draw in some of the character or soul essences of the other nakshatra, but moon being the strongest. So its ruler is the sun. Its symbol for this nakshatra is an elephant tusk or the planks of a bed. Like, either or, but I've seen it depicted in, like, if you Google image search nakshatras, in the wheels, I've seen it depicted either way, so, but we know that Ganesha, that's its horn, Ganesha, its horn, it links it to the Lord of Beginnings, so, and that initiation energy, able to, like, make change in a situation, like, not necessarily to be shy, they'll actually, like, go and conquer their fears. And remover of obstacles, so they don't let things stand in their way. And that's symbolized by Ganesha's horn. So, because they stay out of their way, because they got Ganesha's horn. Like, This sign is also a lot more humble to its faults and balanced than the previous sign of Purva Ashada, because Ganesh represents that like balance. It's an elephant, so it has a little bit more of that centering energy. Its element is air, so very communicational and higher-minded thought. It's about, the mind. Air represents thought and fluidity, ever-changing. Animal is the male mongoose, and this is the only animal that can defeat a snake. And so, for sexual compatibility, you would look for, like, if you're the male mongoose, well, you'd want a female mongoose, or a mongoose, at least the same kind of animal trait, because the animal embodiment is kind of like a summary of all of the character traits, but in a sense that is physically compatible with other people. So, the reason that they picked mongoose is because being enemy of the snake, well, the only nakshatra that sign is a snake is Aslesha, and they have very strong karmic opposites in this lifetime. They kind of stand for and represent almost completely different values and representations in our world. So, yeah, mongoose would go well with a mongoose, but you put it with a snake and they're going to have a fight. So, yeah, it's good to know the animal symbolism and also understand the meaning behind it. Like, they didn't just pick the animals arbitrarily. They are actually pretty specific when it goes to also the compatibility, not just their own nature, but how they will combine with other people. Myths that are associated with this is, well, its name actually translates to the later invincible. So, like, as the previous one, because it's Purva Ashada and then Uttara Ashada. So, like, Purva is like the first or foremost, and then Uttara is like later or like latter or like second, and then that's the Ashada. So, meaning invincible. So there's the first invincible and the second invincible. And in the second invincible, we have all the Capricorn earth energy, which the previous sign didn't have. So that's what its name translates to. Myths associated with it are, it's taken from the 10 Vishvedas, which are the universal gods. The 10 names of the 10 universal gods are goodness, truth, willpower, skill, time, desire, firmness, ancestors, brightness, and peak. So, as a summary, you can see that all of these qualities are like benefic or good. And someone with this sign could be seen as like the guardian of good or benefic influences. Because they have, in the Vik Vedas or whatever, it says that like God was actually like fractured or like created the 10 gods of like benevolence, and they are made out of like his divine benevolence. So they encapsulate the goodness of the Creator and are guardians to it, because they will protect what is, their essence. The main ideas associated with this nakshatra are its universal social appeal, penetration, so like they're very like penetrating and like will get to the core of things, and as long as you maintain their interest kind of stuff. They are to become one with, absorbed into, and settle into. So, traits that are associated with this meaning is that they are very humble in respect to other people for what they are and what they do, regardless of the social or financial positions. They are very, very modest, and they won't utter any bitterness against anyone in spite of having a strongly different opinion. It doesn't mean that they're going to go around bad-mouthing people, because they know that like everyone has totally different opinions. So if they've just voiced that they're negativity, they know that that's just being negative. So they just kind of let things settle. Just let it be. It has aggressiveness, leadership, and authority. So that's why they have the warrior class. If there is a strong Saturn influence here, though, then it can take this traditional loving, like, because they love tradition and ancestors. But if you mix Saturn with that, it can make them a little more rigid and harsh. So I know I said they can be humble, and normally they will be. But if you have a Saturn or something that's like exactly opposite or squaring, it can bring more negative influences to this placement, because then it takes away from their humbleness. Because Saturn ain't so humble. Like, yeah, so they're strongly connected to tradition and ancestors. They are good at starting and completing a task, and this comes from their Capricorn energy, which is unlike Ashwini. So Ashwini is very good at like starting and initiation. It's the first of all the nakshatras, but they don't have a very good follow through necessarily. Like oftentimes they can start a task, but they don't necessarily finish it. With the sign, they will finish. Like they have that endurance. The sign strongly represents endurance. They can work through difficult challenges and are very clever to know the way to do so. Because being ruled by the sun is very creative and exuberant. Like it exudes that energy. So they, even in strong trials and tribulations, they're going to have the courage usually and the warrior-like nature to conquer through. Yeah, and they always like working as a team, as long as it helps to like as towards their victory or their goal. And this is because, you know, Jupiter, very social, happy, abundant, which would be coming from the Sagittarius energy, the archer, and the sun, very creative and exuberant. And then you mix Saturn into that from Capricorn, which is because this is a cusp sign, which has all of these energies in it, and it makes it a little more serious and applicable, like, to the world. Like, it makes it more understanding of the rigid structure and willing to jump through the hoops in order to accomplish their goals. And they won't mind jumping through the hoops as long as, like, it's for their kind of, you know, final resolution. Then it's all worth it. But you also have to remember that their strength that they have, like they might come off as being very strong and sturdy and stable, and that is how they might come off. And if this is your sign, then know that you come off very like noble and good. But that isn't necessarily coming from themselves, because they draw and collect their power from ancestors and the collective strength of the world. So, like with heroes and people that they look up to, people that like are very advocates to them, like in good meaning in their mind, like that they hold in high regards and have respect for, then it's not necessarily that like the goodness is always coming from them, because they're gonna have struggle in their mind, but they usually are pretty good at sticking. They stay the course, like they stay strong. And yeah, they have an elegant and sweet disposition. Very similar to Magha, like being kind of kingly and royal. But they're a lot more introspective and can see things like... They're not as ego-centered as Magha, where it can be seen as like... They're elegant and happy and kind of royal acting, but they don't look down on others, and they wouldn't make fun of others or degrade others, because they're a little bit more of a positive twist to it. And yeah, their appearance, it rules the thighs and the waist, so the lower area, because Sagittarius and Capricorn. So you might notice that they have a cute belly or a nice kind of lower stomach area. So some abs, I don't know, but even if they're not necessarily fit, because that does depend on like how well they keep themselves in shape and all that, and their diet, but you might be drawn to that area of their body. So, I hope that this video has been beneficial, and we'll see you in Shravana, which is completely in Capricorn. So, yeah. And that's number 22. So, see you in that one. Bye for now.